I can see it.
Okay, then, fantastic. Hi everyone, my name is Holly and I'm the editor of International Airport Review, and I'm joined here by Pradeep Panicker, who is CEO of GMR Hyderabad International Airport. Pradeep, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Holly, for inviting me.
So to begin with, perhaps you could just give us a brief overview of how the recovery of your airport is progressing post-pandemic.
So interestingly, last year, during the second half of the year, we did better than pre-COVID. And we closed last financial year, which is ending in March of 2023, with a 21 million passenger number. And to compare that with the pre-COVID financial year to 2019, we had 21.5 million. So we are, in all terms, really back. And this year, as we speak, we are headed to be somewhere between 25 to 26 million. So the growth is really back with the full bandwagon.
That's fantastic news. Now, how have your passengers' behaviours and perhaps their expectations of you as an airport changed? Have you observed anything interesting there?
So COVID did bring in a lot of changes, and some of them are sticking, some of them are, people don't have very strong memories, so some of them actually tend to move off. Like the mask and the sanitizer are out, no longer required to travel, so that's out. But with respect to the people are actually expecting better experiences now. People are willing to, they want the safety elements which they are looking at. All those things have come in. What we have seen perhaps is that people are willing to spend more money for value now. I mean, if you go into the shops now, they spend much more money. The expenditure per person has gone up. That's something which we have seen. And more choices of food they require. They are then they are more adapted technology. So those are things which we have seen.
And would you say, so I've heard that from a number of airports actually, that passengers are more willing to spend more on their travel experience. Do you think this is a result of having been, locked down for so long, that they place a higher value on the freedom and the magic of travel? And you think this might be responsible?
The pent-up demand when it came back. But this to some extent is true because of that pent-up demand coming back. But we are hoping that this demand doesn't go down. If it is only a spurt, it will generally tend to go down. But we have seen that it is sustained for quite some time now. So it might have become a habit. So people are willing to spend more, possibly because of the uncertainty which COVID threw up. People do not want to, keep everything away for a future. They want to be perhaps living in the present, which is perhaps a good thing. And I think it's it's good for our industry also.
Absolutely. So what initiatives, you mentioned that they're looking for a better passenger experience at your airport. So what initiatives are you running to help improve the experience?
So one thing which we look at is something called a 5 senses model. We look at giving a sensory experience for, when you enter the terminal, small things like, you have a good fragrance as you come into the terminal. A very subtle one, which tends to give them the feeling of freshness when they come in, even if it's very hot outside or very cold outside when they come in, they feel the warmth. Then we have curated instrumental music, which is, depending on the time of the day, the mood, we play different kinds of music. Then the food curation, we have tried to expand the range from very healthy foods to all kind of what the youngsters require to. And we have gone looking into the local market and seen some new concepts which they're developing. We keep our eyes and ears open more and to see what is happening in the market outside. And we bring a combination of local and international cuisine, which is available for the pantry senses. And then technology. How do we, the one thing which the government of India is working on is something called Digi Yatra. It's a touchless entry. Okay, your face, the biometrics become your boarding pass. So these are experiences which we are bringing in. So we work very closely with the government and various other airlines to see how do we now. I mean, of course, things like self-bag drop and ATRS, they are all common now everywhere. So that's something which we are looking at. We're now training in terms of bringing in even a full body scanner, which we are working on shortly. So these are all things which bits and pieces which go on to add the overall experience of the passenger when they do travel through the airport.
I really like that analogy in terms of the different senses. However, touch, I think, airports are probably, like you said, moving away from that with more touchless processes, like you just mentioned. So it sounds like passengers entering your terminals, they have an assault on the senses, but in a good way. So I really like that. Now, you will be speaking about personalisation at the International Airport Summit in November. So we're really excited to host you and very much looking forward to it. But why is it important for airports to personalise the travel journey for their passengers, in your opinion?
So, Holly, I'll just take a step back. Personalization in air travel perhaps was very restricted to very few Uber kind of passengers earlier, general aviation travel, or a person who's traveling in his private jet, or I mean, maybe the first class passenger to some extent by an airline, because they used to know what the person would do. But given automation, given the kind of technology we are looking at today, I mean, if you go through your own mobile sometime and you search something, and next time you see Amazon is popping up all the products from the same range, that's the possibility of technology today. So given that technology is in that way opening up a lot of horizons, it is today possible to give that special attention to each passenger if he or she desires. So there are two things. One, of course, privacy concerns that I would not like to enter into the realm of dealing with privacy issues. But there are people, we are giving this option to people if they want to subscribe into us where they're okay with their information being available to the shoppers and the shop, everyone. So we will give that so that that their personal attention can be there. So as you walk into the shop, they know last time you bought this perfume and this is what you want. Is an offer is there? We can make that offer. That's one possibility. The other front, people who are concerned with privacy and they don't want to. But even by looking at their body language, we know. Supposing if there's a person in distress, or a first-time traveler, if the person is traveling, how do you notify and how do you take care of that experience without compromising on the person's privacy issues? We can do that personalized touch, and that's something which we believe it's possible, and that helps to elevate the passenger experience in travel. At the same time, also this is an enriching experience for us also from the revenue part of it, because we also do manage to get a larger share of the pocket. Let me put it that way.
Absolutely. So what work are you specifically doing in the area of personalization?
So we are looking at, I think we're working on a technology where we will be using the CCTV coverage. The CCTV is there all across. So we have video analytics running on CCTV, where it's possible for us to even know what is the queue length in a particular point, what is the amount of time it takes to maneuver. If there is something building up, then we get advanced alerts in our system saying, okay, there's something happening here. So we are developing a complete control system where we are able to identify the entire experience for all the passengers from end to end and act much in advance. So it's something which we are working on, and it starts from the city side all the way till the passenger boards the aircraft. So we are mapping the whole journey, and we are working out how, with the help of video analytics, we are able to send the interventions where required to ensure that smoothness of the travel is maintained.
That's a really good idea. Using data to improve the journey as a whole. And I like what you said earlier about a good experience not being just for the first class passengers, and kind of democratizing that good experience so that everyone gets it.
It's a very interesting point you make again, Huli, because in Hyderabad we have a very large number of first-time travelers. So it's almost the number is around 30-35%. So, and with the growing the shift of the demographic in India, what's happening is we expect that this number will continue to be a large number going forward. So the first time traveler is possibly the most apprehensive about the entire journey, and there's a need for us to make it comfortable. Naturally, the second trip and third trip, they are more experienced, so they know what to do. But so it's a requirement. So we are just tuning in for that.
Yeah, so they require a bit more personal touch from the airport staff, whereas like seasoned travellers, they've got their mobile phone apps, they know exactly where they're going and they don't want to speak to anyone when they come through the terminal.
True.
So what are the challenges that you are facing this year?
So some of the challenges we are facing is the fact that the growth itself is a challenge, because I just mentioned, if you did notice, from 21 million last year, financial year, we'll end up at 26 million. So that's a 5 million growth on a base of 21 million. It's more than 20%. And that's what the Indian economy is giving us. And it's not easy. We just are completing our terminal expansion, which will be ready to deal with about 40 million passengers. And we did a study, and the consultant has told us this capacity is going to run out in 27 or 28. So we require one more terminal. So that's very, very hectic growth. That's one of the largest challenges we're facing. Second, of course, is the fact that, I did mention the personalization required for the first-time traveler. A large number of the passengers are first-time travelers, so we need to deal with that. That's a challenge, but we know how to deal with that particular element. The third element is that the airlines per se, if you see, there have been a consolidation which is happening in the Indian industry. So they are becoming large, and there are requirements of how do you deal with their situation. And now they are looking at becoming into they want to create India as a hub. So when they wanted to create India as a hub, there is an I2I and a D2D and a D2I and I2D. So the specific requirements of these segment of passengers. So how do you deal with that is something which we are on. So these are the specific things which we see as challenges going forward. Last but not the least is the technology. Data breach technology is changing. So obsolescence could be a challenge. But how do we deal with these are some of the things which I'm looking at.
Absolutely. They sound like challenges, but probably good challenges to have with the, huge demand for travel. So what are your projections then for the future? And what is your vision for the future of your airport?
So I did mention that I'm expecting that by in year 2027, 28, we might hit 40 million. And we have land reserved for another terminal and another runway. So the saturation capacity of this airport can be up to 100 million. Having said that, the southern precinct, which is now operational, the runway currently has a runway capacity of declared capacity of 42 movements per hour. We are around 31 movements. So we expect that number to slowly climb. And we are evaluating whether we should look at creating some other terminal in the southern precinct itself, which is integrated with this facility, because integrated terminal is a product we want to keep. At the same time, how do we milk? Because the point is, if we are able to utilize southern precinct to go up to 50 million, then northern precinct going up to 50 million, that's how we hit 100 million. So we have to look at working on all those elements. And when we are creating the second terminal, the northern precinct, how do we connect the two terminals through the use of people mover or some kind of airside transfer? These are elements which we'll be definitely keeping your watch on. So these are all operational requirements, but I think we are geared for that.
Thank you. And the final question for you then is the opportunities that you see in the future that you're not yet capitalizing on with your airports, but you might be looking to in the future. Are there any that spring to mind?
Opportunities as I mentioned that is a challenge also, the technology part of it. Technology is very disruptive. So there are possibilities of, right now we have some security protocol which are through the facial recognition and through these mechanisms. But as we speak, there are certain airports globally who are now working out of new themes where just people walk through a particular corridor and all the security vetting is done. So that's an experience which we would love to bring to our airport also. Similarly, there could also be ways in which we could perhaps deal with baggage in a different way. Has the baggage got to travel along with the passenger, or it reaches before or after? We could look at giving in the demand of the customer, not necessarily on the passenger movement, also in the cargo, will be such that there will be very much tailor-made solutions which are required. So how do we look at tailor-made solutions for cargo or express? So I mean, people are no longer willing to wait. That's what I feel as we go along. So of course, they may not require instantly, but they do require very quick service. So these are things which I believe I can see in the foreseeable future, which demand arising. So this is something which we'll have to work on. And another element which perhaps we need to look is cross-learning from other sectors and other segments. I mean, how banks have evolved, or how maybe possibly the internet companies have evolved. So there are so many things which we have to keep looking at, the best practice across the globe, and history, how we can adapt that to our sphere of action.
Absolutely, well said. I think the possibilities are certainly endless for the improvement of the passenger experience and of airport operations as a whole. Pradeep, that was my final question. Thank you so much. We're very much looking forward to seeing you in London for the International Airport Summit.
Thank you. I had to look forward to the summit. Thank you.
Thank you.